It is time to feast and fill our bellies with lots and lots of pigskin. Welcome to Kickoff with Crown Royal, a Thanksgiving preview. I don't know why we're clapping. Well, because we're excited for the next hour. I'm Emerson Lotzia. With me here to break down all of these Turkey Day tussles are DraftKings contributors. I did not write that. Steve Buchanan, Julian Edlow, Reed T. Fowler. This entire show, we're going in depth on each Thanksgiving Day game from a DFS and sports betting perspective.
Right.
We're then going to wrap it all up with your best bets and plays to make everyone's bank accounts as full as their tum-tums on Thanksgiving. All right, the first of three games, gentlemen. The Bears and the Lions. Detroit's 82nd time playing on this hungry.
That needs to stop.
Hungry holiday. It's not going to stop.
What a tradition.
All right, they haven't won a Thanksgiving Day game, by the way, since 2016. Fun fact, they played the Bears in each of their first 5 Thanksgiving Day games. First one, 1934. A loaf of bread would cost you 8 cents.
Wow.
And a loaf of bread, arguably more interesting than an Andy Dalton, Tim Boyle quarterback.
Right.
Matchup
That
here.
doesn't bring the viewers in.
But wait, there's more. All right, Bears are the road favorite. Do you think they cover?
What a literary masterpiece that intro was.
I feel I
Unbelievable.
peaked way too early.
Do I think the Bears cover? I think initially you want to say yes, but we've seen Andy Dalton. We've seen him play, and he doesn't make this Bears team better from a passing standpoint, right? I think what you're going to have to do if you're the Chicago Bears is rely on your defense and your run game. That's really, David Montgomery is that guy that you want to back. And you take a look at Chicago, 1-5 ATS in their last 6 games. And with Dalton, they went 1-1 ATS in the beginning of the year, guys, but I just don't feel it. And we've seen Detroit, even though they haven't won a game, they've been decent against the spread. 6-4 ATS. They've been playing these mediocre teams well. So you try to piece this all together. Like Tim Boyle, from a statistical standpoint, was horrendous.
Oh my God, it was like 77 yards.
And
or
like
something.
per dropback, he had minus points from a fantasy standpoint. So that's not great, Bob. Not great. But from this standpoint, from this angle, I do like Detroit ATS. A little scary, but I just don't trust Andy Dalton because he didn't pass it down the field.
Okay, Chicago 1-4 ATS in its last 5 games. I know how much you love like trends.
Oh yeah, the trends are definitely my favorites. Here's the thing too, like this game is on early because this is when everyone is either eating or getting ready, so you don't have to really pay attention to this game.
You eat at 12:30. That's like pretty
No,
early.
getting ready.
That's the whole Thanksgiving thing, like, oh, it's noon, it's dinner time.
Right,
Most
right.
people are waking up around that time.
Thanksgiving just needs to be completely redone anyways. But
kinda late.
that's neither here nor there. Kind of like what Reed alluded to, like the Bears have not been a good team against the spread. The Lions have actually been a decent team against the spread. 6-4 overall, covered in the last 2 games, obviously as underdogs, because they're always underdogs when it comes to that. But this is just such a gross matchup, right? Like Tim Boyle, like I in his college days, if I'm not mistaken, I heard this correctly, he actually threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns during college. Like if that's really,
That
like,
really stood out to the
That's
NFL
talent,
scouts.
though. That's tough to do.
Right,
That's like
that
very
is tough to
Jameis
do.
Winston-esque.
Yeah.
It is tough to do, but I mean, this game is just going to be such a mess here. Like, I really don't want to take a side. I'm going to be totally honest. I don't want to take a side in this one here. I suppose I'll side with the Lions being the underdogs, and they've been a decent team covering when they're underdogs, but what an absolute atrocity to start off Thanksgiving.
Jules, do the Bears, does Andy Dalton have enough offensive support here to help the Bears to be productive and help the Bears cover?
Maybe, because the Lions don't have much offensive support on the other side. So if you get 9 points from the Bears, maybe the Lions get 6. This is going to be, we'll talk totals. Points are going to be at a premium in this one. There are some props that stand out to me more than betting a side, but if I'm going to bet a side, I'm going to take the home dog in this game. You look at the Lions' last 2 weeks, 3-point margin between the Steelers, a tie, and the Browns, a 3-point loss. So there you are with 2 games against, decent AFC North type of competition, and you're within 3 points. So I'm going to take the +3 at home for the Lions. Probably not a play that I'm going to actually wind up being on Thanksgiving, but that's where I would lean.
Why do you have the giggles over here? What's going on with
Because
you?
like we're struggling to try and find pieces
Listen,
to make this game work. And
this is
it's
why
like-
we did it first.
Right.
So we're
And
just
like
going to get this out. We're
Detroit
coming out hot.
31st run defense. So David Montgomery is the guy that you have to
That's
go to.
right.
Okay, so Jules, you mentioned the total, 41.5 right now. Again, 2 backup quarterbacks potentially under center here. You see it going over or under? It sounds like you're leaning towards the under.
Yeah, the two teams already played this season. Chicago won 24-14. That was in week 4.
Okay.
And that's the game in Chicago. So similar to I think it could be hard to get that many points in this game, and it's such a low total that it's tough to find your way there. Just thinking on the fly here, obviously we are a teaser show.
Oh, man.
Lions up to 9, total under. What does that put it? 47.5. Not too bad. I would lean Lions, lean under. Maybe the move is you put them together and get the 6 points there on both of them.
Are you teasing a total?
It's Thanksgiving. It's a holiday.
Yeah.
It's an island game.
You have just said, though, that you don't like teasing totals, so I'm a little surprised by this
I don't,
development.
but you can. I don't want to tease this total and that total, but if it's the same game and now you're correlated, you're taking a home dog with the points, makes the points more valuable, and then going to the under, it ties together a little bit more. So I'm not taking 2 totals and teasing them together, or even another spread and a total and teasing it together, but in the same game like that, I think it can work.
Who's brave enough to lean towards the over?
Steve is.
I can make a case for the over.
Okay, good. That's what I need right now.
Tim Boyle throws 4 pick
Let's hear
sixes.
it.
No, literally. Like, that literally is the idea here. Like, we have 2 quarterbacks who are going to turn over the ball. Like, I would not be shocked if you told me, hey, there's going to be, 3 pick sixes in this game. That is probably very, very possible.
That would be
for
insane.
Something like that. It would be insane, but look at the matchup that we have in front of us, right? Like, that's where it comes down to. Andy Dalton's going to turn over the ball. Boyle's going to turn over the ball. So if that is the case, we could see multiple pick sixes in this game. So maybe they're not scoring offensively, but defensively, maybe that's where the points come from. Again, I'm not excited to take anything in this game. When it comes to Turkey Day and everybody's sitting down, I'm going to look at my phone and go, I am glad I have nothing on this game. I'm going to eat in peace. Okay, even though I'm not a big fan of turkey, but whatever. I'm going to eat in peace because I have nothing on this game. But with that said, I do think that a case for the over can be made because I think there could be a lot of defensive scoring in this game, and that's where the points come from.
Well, this season, Lions home games are averaging 47.9 points, which is 6.4 more than this outing's over-under. So you're going under.
Yeah, I mean, look at the teams, though, that the Lions have played, right, when those games have gone over.
Okay.
They played Philadelphia, who's apparently a powerhouse.
Jalen Hurts can run for 3 touchdowns.
For 400 touchdowns, yes, in a single game. And then you had San Francisco, you had Green Bay, so their offenses have a little bit more on their side when they go over. You just take a look at these teams. Both of them have a strength at running back, right? David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift. If they're going to lean on that and deficiencies at their quarterback position, this one is tough to back on the over. 7 of the last 9 Chicago games have gone under. 7 of the last 8 Lions games have gone under. So, when you take a look at those trends, check out the DK Nation DK Playbook for Trent article that comes out from yours truly every week.
Great.
Thank you. Little plug.
Great plug.
Thank you. And one thing to mention, guys, Goff isn't necessarily ruled out. He's not officially ruled out yet. He's most likely going to be ruled out, but we just don't know. If he's in, maybe you get that and you get a little TJ Hawkinson, Jared Goff, and DeAndre, but I mean that's 1%.
Yeah, there are some question marks with a lot of these Thanksgiving Day games that people need to be aware of and keep an eye on here leading up to Thursday kickoff, which kind of takes me to the player props available at this time. There's not a whole lot of them, but what would your game plan be here, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us are going to be talking about David Montgomery in this game. Probably one of the best matchups overall on this CFS slate. I mean, the Lions just cannot stop the run at all. David Montgomery should continue to be the workhorse in this lineup too, as well, playing almost every single snap for the Bears last week, handling 44% of their team's total touches. He is going to be getting the ball in this one, especially with Andy Dalton under center. So I would not be surprised, what his rushing yards come up at. Guessing maybe in the low 60s, maybe mid 60 range for him. That would be a number I'd be jumping on. I would actually play it up to about 70, 75 if that ended up being the case too.
You're talking Montgomery right now?
Correct. Yep.
Montgomery's prop was one of the first things to open on DraftKings Sportsbook at 76.5.
76.5.
It's up, but that first game, that's how they controlled the game, the Bears against the Lions the first time around. Those 23 carries for 106 yards. And I think they're going to go back to that. The Montgomery rushing yards, I think, is the obvious first prop that jumps out in this game.
Is there something available there you like right now, Jules, or are you going to wait and see what else pops up?
So I don't think it's going to get too high between now and the Thanksgiving kickoff, so you could wait. I don't mind. Again, the Montgomery's only had 200-yard games this season. Surprisingly, one was week 1 in LA against the Rams, and then the other was this one against Detroit. But he does have a couple of games of 20 carries. He had 16 against the Rams. I don't mind looking at maybe going with the rushing attempts over the yards, but again, against a bad rushing defense like Detroit, the yards should be there as well. I think both of them will be strong plays.
Is there a player you're probably going to pursue when it comes to a player prop?
Yeah, I mean, David Montgomery is the guy that I think all of us feel most comfortable with. When you look at, and I know Julian likes these stats, when you look at prop win percentage by category, you see rushing yards is the least, the one through weeks 1 through 10 that have hit the over, right? So the unders are definitely in play with those because we kind of overinflate, right, how we think the game script's going to go. Game script can completely change, and Montgomery, even though Montgomery, and we've seen guys like Najee Harris and these workhorse backs maybe not get there, A.J. Dillon, this one just screams that you want to be on David Montgomery. DeAndre Swift, I think, is the one guy, rushing and receiving. What, what's up?
What's going on?
Steve
I
thought
like
someone told a
his
joke.
I liked his answer.
Okay.
I just think that rushing and receiving props are my favorite. Even though David Montgomery didn't get any in that last game, like no targets, no receptions, I think he's one. And then DeAndre Swift, I think just focus on these running backs because that's
I was going to say,
Swift.
with these quarterbacks, you got to be cautious with the receiving props, right?
Back-to-back 130 rushing yard games for Swift in very different ways. 14 carries against Cleveland, he gets there.
Yeah.
33 carries against Pittsburgh in the overtime tie, and he gets there.
He's definitely been a bright
You know what would be a
spot
prop
for
that I wish they would put up because I'd be interested in taking it? Neither quarterback to complete a pass. I'd take some action on that.
him. Really?
Think about it.
Interesting.
Think about it.
Okay, well, good news, gentlemen. We will tackle the fantasy side of this game in just a moment. But first, take a look at a contest brought to you by Crown Royal.
Love that Crown Royal.
Thank you. All right, dudes, let's move to the daily fantasy side of Bears Lions here. Available now in the DraftKings lobby. You got showdown contests galore for each of these Thanksgiving Day games. And just in case, if you're new here, the single game showdown format, pretty simple stuff. You draft 6 players from the game, selecting one captain who will get you 1.5 times the points. However, 1.5 times the salary is what you're going to be dropping on them. So, who would you captain in this contest, Steven?
Just going back to David Montgomery, I think everybody's going to have the same answer, or DeAndre Swift. That's going to be the ones in this one here. I would be very cautious about anybody who catches a football in this game on either side. I think that's just not going to be the way you want to handle this game at all. I think this is going to be a very run-heavy game, so you go with the RB1s in this one, whether it's Swift or Montgomery. Both of these guys in a good spot this week.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the prices here. I mean, Swift's the highest salary here, 17.4, and then Montgomery 16.8. Jules, is Steve right? It's got to be one of these two?
I think that's where your eye is going to be drawn, and I think that Montgomery is the guy for me that stands out as probably the right answer. But also, don't we think this is going to be a weird game? We just talked about it. This is going to be a weird game. So, tight ends are in play. Cole Kmet, TJ Hawkinson. Also, if this is going to be low scoring, it's going to be a weird game. If the running back chalk maybe busts. I am interested in captaining a kicker.
We don't Mark
need this.
the tape, dude.
Yes.
Mark the tape.
I have no problem captaining
energy.
a kicker here. Then you play Swift and Montgomery and fill the rest in from there.
That's kind of
The
gross.
only problem
That is gross.
Here's the only problem. If you captain a kicker, you almost have too much salary left over. You take the 2 running backs
Wow, you're too
and then you're
rich.
trying to find ways to spend it. However, that's going to make other people not do it. So you're going to be contrarian. And I'm being serious. I think one of the kickers, double-digit points in the captain spot, could be better than a lot of other options.
It's contrarian.
You want to get weird?
I
Weird
mean,
with them? Who do you want
I
to
kind of want to
captain?
put him on the spot and say who are the kickers that are playing in this game, but like
I'm looking into that now.
Haven't they
He has
both
the
been?
list.
They both
Exactly.
have had like injuries too in the kicking
Yeah, I'm
department.
seeing some kickers on IR here.
Exactly.
Rosas is the Detroit kicker.
there we go. Yeah.
He's gonna have a great game.
Awesome.
He's gonna have a great game.
Look, to Julian's point, I think where he started with that was you got to get a little weird on this
Yeah,
one.
I get it.
And both of the running backs are going to be chalk. And it's good chalk is good chalk. But, like, I take a look at guys like Andy Dalton, and I think, okay, what does he do really well? He throws it from 0 to 10 yards line of scrimmage. That screams Cole Kmet to me. That screams someone in that low. That does not scream Darnell Mooney, who goes 16 targets and gets deep balls. You look at Andy Dalton, I think when he started, his past 10 yards of line of scrimmage, or 10 to 20 yards line of scrimmage, passing, he's 8 for 20 on the year. Just doesn't do it. And so Cole Kmet is someone that I'm very interested in at 7-5 in the captain spot, and then pair him up with your running backs. Maybe get some kickers in there and get a little weird.
All right, that's going to do it for game one on this Thanksgiving slate here, guys. We're going to dive into Reed's Raiders facing the Cowboys when we return after this message from Crown Royal.
Game day.
Are you ready for some of this coffee?
A minute to the kick. And it's not a kickoff without the small places that make game day big. It's not a kickoff without Dave on the door. What's up, Dave? It's not a kickoff without Manny's or Mickey's packed and shoulder to shoulder. Without Ray working the remote. Hope you made room. Because it's not a kickoff without a proper cut of something. Without Scatino's famous ziti.
All ready for you.
It's a minute to the kick. And it's not a kickoff until Loretta drops 3 cubes of ice. Until 2 fingers of Crown. So raise your glass and kick off with Crown.
It's a good promo.
I love that.
That's a good promo.
Was that Ed Reed? I'm pretty sure I saw Ed Reed at the end of
It's a
that.
great spot by you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was the beard that gave it away. Everybody, good to have you back. Welcome back to the Crown Royal Thanksgiving preview. The next game on the slate is going to give us Reed T's Las Vegas Raiders taking on another traditional Thanksgiving Day team. That would be the Dallas Cowboys. 31-21-1 on this holiday. And that is your one and only history lesson in this segment. So the Cowboys coming off a pretty tough loss to Kansas City on Sunday night. And the short week will not help their banged up offense. They're going to be without star wide receiver, Amari Cooper. And then CeeDee Lamb could be out as well, although there's some reports that the team is optimistic right after he suffered a concussion in that game against Kansas City on Sunday. But Dallas still favored by a touchdown over Las Vegas. Who covers, Reed?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Julian was chomping at the bit to say something.
Yeah.
I
What
was
did you
going to
first?
tell you. You mentioned the Cowboys didn't look good. I was going to tell Reed to share that stat that he retweeted on Twitter about actually all 6 teams playing on Thanksgiving Day lost on Sunday by
and
wide
their
margins.
point differential is minus 72.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is they were all looking ahead to this Thursday.
Right,
slate.
exactly.
Those were all trap games because people
Right.
are so stoked to play on a
Right.
short week and on Thanksgiving where you could be home spending time with your dogs and your family.
Right. Raiders, let me get to Dallas side first. Right? They've been really good ATS. So I think we all know that they've been really good ATS, 7-2. And you just take a look at the Raiders. They really have no offense right now. And I get Dallas didn't look very good in Kansas City, but Kansas City had a really good defensive scheme on that. Chris Jones at the middle really disrupted what Dak Prescott and what these guys wanted to do. And we saw CeeDee Lamb get hurt. We saw Ezekiel Elliott get banged up. A lot of the sharp early money right now is on Dallas and the under, right? And that can kind of lead into what I want to talk about later with our fantasy picks. But I'm going with the Dallas side. When you look at the Raiders, their best offensive plays, guys, and their best players are their tight ends right now. Yeah. It's Foster Moreau and it's Darren Waller. That's the offense that they have. They had no offense whatsoever against Cincinnati. And Cincinnati is not this defensive powerhouse that we expect. They just could not get anything done. Dallas ranks 8th in pressure. I know the Raiders bring a lot of pressure with their front 4. They don't blitz. That's going to be an issue for the Raiders because Dallas, when they're blitzed, and we saw Dak get blitzed, he really had a lot of issues. Yep. And if CeeDee Lamb's not there, I still think that Dallas can win this, especially with a guy like Tony Pollard, something like 24-14 at best. So give me Dallas.
Steve, coming out of Sunday's action to the line, did tick up over that touchdown threshold to the Cowboys, so minus 7.5 now.
Yeah, this makes me a little nervous. That this line has basically stayed put since it opened, too, with all the issues that Dallas is having right now, being down their top 2 receivers. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't still get the ball downfield. There's still guys who are very capable of doing so. Like Cedric Wilson has looked good in the extra snaps that he's been getting. Schultz is someone who's been, a big favorite for Dak Prescott as of late, too, as well. And Dallas continues to be one of the better teams at covering. 4-1 at home, covering by an average of 9 points against the spread. I like this team more than the Raiders, but I just really kind of worry about how wide this line hasn't moved much with all the issues that the Cowboys are having. And you brought up a good point, too, Reed, about getting pressure on Dak Prescott. That is all he was under in that game against the Chiefs. They were constantly in his face, and that really kind of limited them on offense. Could that happen again this week? There's a very good chance that could happen again this week. But with that being said, I don't feel comfortable taking the Raiders.
Yeah.
This is a weird game. This is a weird spot. I'm curious about this line. I keep thinking about this. Maybe this is one of those classic trap plays, but I just can't feel good about taking the Raiders right here.
12 games, too, this year have been favored at this number, and away teams have covered 7-2 ATS. And home teams are 1-2.
And that's interesting, too, because the Raiders have been the complete opposite on the road. Like their last 7 road contests, they're 2-5 ATS. So, and you got to look at this, Jules, as Steve just mentioned. Like Dallas has been steady at AT&T Stadium, 6-1 ATS over their last 7 home games.
Yeah, it's a tough game. It's not a game that I'm going to be on a side for. If I was playing anything, maybe it would be the under, like Reed alluded to, because the offenses are kind of going downhill and Dallas doesn't have its weapons. So I think this is going to be a good player prop game, which is something we'll touch on with so many bodies down, so many key playmakers down on offense. But in terms of a side, if you trust Dallas to win the game, this is a Dallas teaser leg that you branch to Sunday, because Sunday teaser pieces are just not there. Maybe it's the Patriots if you think they're going to win at home against the Titans, and you connect Dallas, and then assuming you get through, now you've got the Patriots at a nice price on the money line on Sunday. But other than using Dallas as a teaser leg, this game doesn't really interest me until we get to the prop market.
Okay, so who here on this desk is confidently taking the over right now with a game total of 51, especially with some of those big offensive weapons out for Dallas?
So when you look at the Raiders, over the last 3 games, they've allowed an average of 32 points to their opponents. That is the second highest mark over that span, except, of course, the Jets.
And it's 50.5 now, too, by the way, on DK Sportsbook.
Big total. It's a really big total, too. When you look at all the weapons that the Cowboys don't have, that would say, okay, maybe I want to move the under with this one. But the Raiders have been so bad defensively that's where the worry comes from me taking the under. So I'm going to begrudgingly take the over in this one because I would hate to sweat the under in this game. But with how bad defensively the Raiders have been specifically, I think that I like the over in this game.
All right, so this year, 5 home games, Dallas has gone over the total 3 times, Reed.
Yeah, and I think when you don't CeeDee Lamb's availability, not necessarily just because what he can do as a player and rack up the stats. He just allows that offense to get going, to move the chains. Michael Gallup is still trying to get back up to game speed. Cedric Wilson is fine. Look, Cedric Wilson is someone that we'll talk about in a little bit, who's probably not a sneaky DFS play because everyone loves Cedric Wilson, but I just don't see the Raiders, like Steve mentioned, putting this up. Like sans week 1, every game the Raiders have been at this total, the most points they've scored is 14. So when they're in these games where we think that, they have the offense and they're playing against a better offense, they've only put up 14. So can we confidently say that Dallas is going to put up, to cover that difference? It's hard to say that right now. So I'm gonna slide on the under.
And Jules, Cowboys home games this season averaging 52.1 total points. So just a tick over this total.
Right, so it's right around the number, but that's now with Dallas's 2 downfield threats, we assume gone, and with a Raiders team that just doesn't have it on offense right now, like Reed talked about. So it's under a pass from me, but I'll just kind of take some of the numbers that Reed threw out and maybe turn this into a more interesting angle on the game. Do we prefer the Raiders team total under 20.5? I don't know if they can get there personally to 20 to 21. Now at the same time, that assumes if you like the Raiders under that number, you're going to need Dallas to get to 30 to hit the game total over, and I don't think Dallas gets to 30 either. So it's probably a game total under, but I think that going to the Raiders team total side, because of how they've performed in these spots like Reed just shared, 14 points, that makes a lot of sense to me as well.
Well, which guys would you consider backing in the player prop market?
This is a prop game for me, rather than taking sides, playing totals, and the majority of it just goes to where Dallas sits with the wide receiver situation. So short week, are they going to run the ball more with Zeke or get him more involved catching the ball out of the backfield without those two playmakers? Probably. So with Zeke, maybe it's a rushing and receiving type of combination prop, and then 3 pass catchers have to be all more involved with those top 2 guys out. Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson, and then the tight end who's been a great prop bet just in general over the last season and a half, Dalton Schultz. So I just stole all the names for Stephen Reed to talk about.
But I think they're all Jeff Ulrich. I think named every player available in this game.
Those 4 guys within the Dallas offense are all very much in play.
Okay, so he did name everybody.
Maybe they can share their favorites. I'm interested in all of them.
Take your pick.
I'm doing coin toss. But that also kind of means that Dak Prescott should be in play as well, right? If we're talking about the pass catcher for Dallas.
So I guess it depends if his number is depressed because of the guys are out.
Exactly, right. So if it's lower and coming off a bad week, right, against Kansas City, someone who we all think can get past this number, like the Raiders play this cover 3 defense. And Dan Quinn plays the same, like his Dallas team plays the same. So Dak should be familiar with this type of defense, right? So I do like that. But going on the Raiders side, I think Josh Jacob under whatever his number is rushing is something that I'm interested in. We've seen Kenyon Drake get incorporated into this offense, and the Raiders just don't run the ball. And when they're down by quite a bit, they don't run the ball, right? Or Kenyon Drake is in the game. So Josh Jacobs right now, the under whatever that number sits at.
44.5 rushing.
Okay.
And 68.5 combo, rushing receiving.
Yeah.
Is that all that's basically up there right now?
Yeah. So I think he has to get this. Like the Raiders have to keep the game close for me to feel comfortable about taking any over from Josh Jacobs. I don't think that's going to happen. So give me the under on Josh Jacobs.
Is there a player you're going to target here for props?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about all the pass catchers being down. Give me anytime touchdown for Dalton Schultz. It should be plus money in that realm.
He's been awesome, man.
The Raiders really struggle against opposing tight ends, allowing an average of 68 receiving yards, 6 total touchdowns to that position. For reference, the most that any team has allowed is 9. So the Raiders are right up there with touchdowns allowed to opposing tight ends. If Dak Prescott is down his top 2 receivers, he's going to have to spread the ball around a little bit more. Schultz has been his guy. 10 targets last week for him. So give me for him at anytime touchdown. Should be plus money.
Plus
Michael
170.
Gallup could eat too.
Plus 170 on the anytime for Dalton Schultz.
That's beautiful.
Okay, yeah.
Take that all day.
Good old plus money there. Yeah, Gallup could be a guy who could feast. Could he be someone you would consider for your captain spot in DFS?
Gallup, I think that's more of a question mark for Gallup, right? Because we've seen in certain spots Cedric Wilson we've seen Dalton Schultz get a lot of volume. Volume is key in fantasy football, and especially DFS, right? So if Zeke was healthy, if we get word, guys, that Zeke is healthy and he's ready to go, how much confidence do we put in? Because this Raiders team, they look at Joe Mixon, Darrell Williams the last 2 weeks, they've given up a heaping of fantasy points to the opposing running backs. This might not actually, even if Zeke is healthy and they go like a 50-50 split looking at long term, which we've seen teams do, kind of, relinquish a lot of that volume from their lead guy and give it to their backup. Tony Pollard has seen a ton of production, and he's just got more pop, right? You watch Tony Pollard, he just got more speed, more pop than Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke is a better pass protector, but Pollard is a guy that can break a game. So in this one, 50.5, we see the team total at 30.5. I think Pollard could be someone definitely in play.
For captain?
But for captain, if I'm going there, it's going to be Zeke.
Okay.
But I think Tony Pollard is someone that you have to pay attention to as well.
Yeah, Zeke would be 16-2 in the captain spot.
If he's healthy.
Yes. Pollard 10-5. What about you, Steve?
If we're expecting the Raiders to be down in this game, Darren Waller makes a lot of sense for this one. The Cowboys have not been a strong team against opposing tight ends either, not as bad as the Raiders. But the thing about Waller is he's seen no less than 7 targets in every single game except one this season.
Insane.
And he's due for some positive touchdown regression at this point too as well. He has the highest red zone target share on the team, but only 2 touchdowns. That doesn't make any sense. Something has to change at some point. When you're receiving 22% of the total team's red zone targets, you are going to score at some point. This should be the week where he can get back on track. Only 15,900 for him in the captain spot. I think that's the option here, especially if you like the Cowboys to win this game.
Maybe he'll have one of those 19 target games, like
Yeah,
back in
week
week 1.
yes.
Like that is
nice.
wild.
Las Vegas, that'd be nice.
Oh.
Sorry, I was just looking to them. I was talking
Yeah,
to them.
no. A little
Apologies.
passive aggressive there.
Would you like my captain?
Yeah, I would actually love it.
Waller was going to be the guy for me as well, as Steve shared, because I think that there's those guys on the Dallas side that you could sprinkle around to: Zeke, Schultz, Gallup. So Waller makes a lot of sense, especially if playing from behind the target should be there. But I will say the price difference to captain Michael Gallup is 13.2. To captain Cedric Wilson is 8,100. I think Cedric Wilson could easily have a better game than Michael Gallup. So I think this is a game where you do have guys to spend up on, not like the Lions-Bears game. So spending down a little bit on captain, now you can afford to put Zeke, Waller, etc., Dak all into your lineup.
Wow.
So spending down is a little bit more valuable here than in the other
And
game.
Cedric Wilson had one of the nicest passes that we've seen from any
And he's got an
player.
arm.
Not in quarterback included. This year.
Jules, Greg Zerline,
Emerson.
$6,000 in the captain spot.
Oh,
If you
Greg
want-
the
if-
leg.
If you
Yeah.
wanted to go
Legatron,
kicker
baby.
for captain, if you're making a Thanksgiving Day sweep.
It's bad enough for one
no.
game, not 2 in a row. Absolutely not.
I gave it
Horrible
out for
Thanksgiving.
one. I gave it out for one. I think that's a
Yeah,
strong
more than
enough
All right,
take.
that sounds good. Gentlemen, 2 down, 1 to go. We'll take a look at the primetime matchup between the Bills and the Saints when we return.
Game day.
Are you ready for some of this crumpet?
A minute to the kick. And it's not a kickoff without the small places that make game day big. It's not a kickoff without Dave on the door. What's up, Dave? It's not a kickoff without Manny's or Mickey's packed and shoulder to shoulder. Without Ray working the remote. Hope you made room. Because it's not a kickoff without a proper cut of something. Without Scatino's famous ziti.
All ready for you.
It's a minute to the kick. And it's not a kickoff until Loretta drops 3 cubes of ice. Until 2 fingers of crown. So raise your glass and kick off with crown.
Absolutely not. All right, back on your screen, it's our Kickoff with Crown Royal Thanksgiving preview. We've got one more game to look at, and it's the primetime matchup here between the Bills and the Saints. You guys are both very excited for this one. Not a whole lot of Thanksgiving Day experience for these two teams. It will be the 10th Turkey Day contest for Buffalo, just the 4th for New Orleans. The Saints, however, undefeated with a record of 3-0. Odds makers think it will be tough for New Orleans, though, to keep that record perfect.
Got it.
As they are 4-point home dogs in this one. So Buffalo, a team that really needs a win. Moving in the wrong direction here. You think the Bills can cover?
It's hard to say at this point. Truly,
It is.
This,
What we saw against Indianapolis last week was bad.
This Bills team is struggling right now, and I'm probably putting that nicely. Like, it is really hard. Like, we all joke, ha ha ha, nobody's good in the NFL, but like, this is one team that realistically, I honestly have a lot of questions about. I mean, they have not covered in 4 of their last 5 games, all of them when they were favored. If you've been betting on the Bills, you're not. I don't know if you can afford Thanksgiving dinner right now. If you've been betting on the Bills over the past month, it has been that bad for this team.
Well, you should be betting responsibly, so you can
Of course
certainly
you should.
afford Thanksgiving dinner,
We
Steve.
know that, Julian. It's just, I'm trying to make a point here about
hyperbole.
how bad that they've been.
Yeah, relax,
right?
Jules.
Guy can't take a joke,
wanted
has
to
no
clarify.
fun. Probably has a ton of turkey on his plate. The worst food for Thanksgiving. But then you have New Orleans, who are 4-1 against the spread as underdogs, covering by an average of 12.5 points. That's some major differences between these two teams. On paper, you would think that this would be Bills easily. But with the play that we've seen from both of these teams, it's been the absolute opposite. I'm really kind of leaning towards New Orleans on this one, and that's not something I expected to have on Thanksgiving. No less.
Have you had fried turkey, though? If you fry turkey, make sure you do it safely and outside,
You know what I
in
like?
your
Honey
driveway.
glazed
And
ham.
it's juicy
Honey
and
glazed
it's
ham.
fried.
Honey glazed ham. How about that?
Oh, dude, I'll eat
Honey
it.
glazed
That's
ham is much better than turkey.
Thank you very much. A good panel. What a great panel we have here. What's your thought, real quick?
I plead the 5th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I like turkey.
I love turkey.
You would. You like the
I
Raiders
really
and
do. Jules, but over
correlated.
the last, so he was talking about how you may have had some bad luck recently if you've been betting the Bills, but over their last 10 road games, they're 7-3 ATS.
Wow, thank you for that. I'm really just here for Steve's after show of how to change Thanksgiving.
Stay tuned.
It's going to be lengthy, but
Wait for that.
I'll reluctantly lay it with the Bills here. The 4 on the road. Things can only go up for the Buffalo Bills, who got absolutely
saying that.
mopped at home. No, we don't. I mean, they beat the Jets pretty good, and then they were expected to keep rolling at home against the Colts. They didn't. A lot of money came in on the Colts +7. That was a lot of points for a good team, a team that's been very strong since starting 0-3. Jonathan Taylor now in the MVP discussion. So I think it's going to get a little easier here for the Bills. The Saints have a good defense. So Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and the rest of that offense is going to have to figure out a good defense on a short week on the road. That is true. But since Trevor Siemian got the job here, I mean, New Orleans has lost all 3 games. I don't think this offense is going to do very well. It's time for the Bills defense to step up. I think they'll be able to do so. So I'm going to take the value. We didn't think we'd be seeing this line around 4 in this game. I will play Buffalo on the road.
But, Reed, I mean, the Bills have averaged 3 turnovers lost per game the last 3 weeks. So basically, if they
Gotta
don't
stop that.
If they don't clean that up, this could be a close one. And the Bills, 2-3 ATS when favored by single digits.
Yeah, this is sort of what we've seen from Thanksgiving when we were all saying that they're out, right? They're not a good team. Is that how can Patrick Mahomes figure this deep cover 2 type of defense? That's what Josh Allen and the Bills are doing right now. Is they're in that trough of like, how do we get out of this right now? And I think this is a spot that you can do it. So I'm going to side with Julian. Maybe this is recency bias because I bet the Saints last week did not go well. And the reason being is that Trevor Siemian at the beginning of games, the Saints are atrocious.
Yeah.
They are so bad in the beginning of games. They're averaging in the last 4.3 points in the first half. That is horrendous.
So just throwing this together on the fly here, Bills need a bounce back. Saints awful first half. Maybe
First
a Bills
half, 2.5.
first half look.
Okay.
And I was just about to tweet that out, Julian. Thank you very much. There it is. First play.
Stole Reed's
Minus
tweet.
2.5 first half. And, this is exactly what you want to do. Look what happened with the Bills too. The last time they got embarrassed by America's team, Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's right, 3 field
They
goals to 2
came
field
out,
goals.
and again, it's a different team. They came out and they put up a ton of points. So I really like the Bills in this one, even though the Saints around this number are 4-1 ATS.
All right, well, betting the total here for these 2 teams has been quite profitable. It's sitting at 46.5 right now. Saints games have gone over in 4 straight weeks, while the Bills have gone over in each of their last 2. We know they weren't really the reason for that this past weekend. Jonathan Taylor was. So are you guys feeling the over here? Reed?
Yeah, I am. And this sort of goes back to what Steve was mentioning about Detroit in that first game, is that we could see some turnovers. Trevor Siemian definitely able to do that. We saw a pick 6 from All Day Slay, or I forget his nickname, Darius Slay, whatever it is.
Yeah, All Day Slay sounds
great.
good.
Sounds
yeah,
good.
I'll
Sounds good to
accept
me.
that. Works for me.
But I think Stephon Diggs, we've seen him in the last couple of games that they've not been good, right? The Bills, not played well, actually do well. And he's got a Debo, his matchup, who ranks 102nd out of 118 cornerbacks. So I do think there are places you can exploit, and that's the secondary. I think the run game, I think the Bills' offense plays right into the deficiencies of the Saints' defense, right? The Saints are good against the run. They're going to shore that up after getting embarrassed by Philadelphia. The Bills don't run the ball, so I do think this goes over.
What about you? Leaning in the same direction?
Yeah, look, the Saints, like you mentioned, have been an over machine really as of late. 4 straight games, 5 of their last 6 too, I think it was, and hitting the over. The problem is too is both of these teams are strong in different areas. Both secondaries have been excellent. You are not going to run against either team either, and that's going to be a problem too. Looks like Alvin Kamara might miss his game too as well. I believe he missed Monday's practice, but they're not really making that much of a concern because it was just mostly a walkthrough. But there's a lot of different concerns on defense that I worry about here, and it's kind of counterproductive of what I just said. That the Saints have been an over machine, but if you're not going to be able to run the ball on both sides, and both secondaries are going to give each other issues, and that would lead me to go with the under in this one, despite how well the Saints have been hitting the over. It's close. The number is a really solid number on if you want to take the over and under or not. It's not like a slam dunk on either side, but as it is right now, I'd be more inclined to take the under.
Yeah, Joel's average total in Saints home games this season floating around 45.5.
Yeah, so it's right there, just like a lot of these games on this card. I lean over here. I think that the Bills' offensive bounce back, I think the Eagles being able to put up a lot of points on this Saints defense last week, I think that means that we should see enough points to get there in this game. I will say, and I generally don't do this, but if you're somebody like Steve Buchanan, who up until recently became a more patient bettor and doesn't mind teasing or parlaying through multiple days, if you're somebody that needs your money on Thanksgiving, you want them all tied together, we said we need a teaser piece to put together with Dallas to get them down to win that game. Over 40.5 in this game, that's getting up to this could land 42. You hit the under, but you cash it on that teaser. I think that gets you through some common key numbers to make this, a 24. If it's Bills -4, it lands 24-20.
Yep.
Push on that spread, but that gets you over on a teaser number, but under on the game. I think that's a decent teaser for you
And
if
the
you want a
Saints-
same day one.
The Saints have been really good in the fourth quarter, too. They've
Yeah.
been really efficient.
So
in
the
the
complete
the points
opposite.
late.
It's like the
Get
first
points
quarter
late.
then.
Yeah.
That
Catch 'em.
also sounds like some great content for the Unreasonable Odds podcast. Just an idea, since I'm now producing your podcast. Anywho.
That is a huge downgrade for the podcast.
Oh, man.
That's not true, by the way. We
All
have
right.
professional producers, and it will be out, and it will be a great podcast.
Awesome. I have confidence.
Thank you.
Let's do the DFS side of this game after you guys and gals take a look at a contest brought to you by Crown Royal. We did the sports betting for this game, so time to wrap this segment up with some fantasy talk. Single game showdown for this one. Your captain, again, 1.5 times the points, but you're paying 1.5 times the salary. Who's it gonna be?
There's not a lot of strong captain options, I think, in this game. I think I want to go a little bit off the board. I think Emmanuel Sanders might be someone that could be a solid captain in this one. The Saints have actually been fairly strong against opposing wide receiver one, so if they can limit Stephon Diggs, and where is Josh Allen going to get the ball to in this one? Cole Beasley coming into this game as questionable. He could be someone, too, as well, if he does end up playing, but I think Emmanuel Sanders has been kind of quiet over the past couple of games, but if they're all over Stephon Diggs, if they're giving him double coverage, that could open up somebody like Emmanuel Sanders, and it also gives you the freedom to kind of really fill up the rest of your lineup there. You could get both quarterbacks in this one if you wanted to. You could get a couple of their top receivers if you wanted to. So I like Sanders to kind of give you a little bit of contrarian outlook and then also fill up the rest of your lineup below.
Who's worth paying up for, Reed?
I think it's Josh Allen. I mean, and Stephon Diggs, it's these guys when you pair them together.
Allen, highest priced player, 18-3.
And I just, when you take a look at what he needs to do, I think his rushing, and we'll get to that in a little bit, his rushing prop as well, I think he goes over that because of what we've seen so far from Allen is that he's been a turnover machine, harkening back to the early days of Josh Allen. 18-3 is very pricey for someone who's not necessarily playing up to our standards, but this guy's still leading most of the sports books as the MVP. And in this game, if you can win it where everybody is watching, right? Everybody's watching this game. It's primetime. All 6 of these teams are kind of limping into this week, into this Thursday. I think Josh Allen is the guy that you want to go to.
What direction are you going in for captain?
We're all going in the direction of the Buffalo passing game, and we're all going to different targets there. I'll go with Stephon Diggs here at, he's 11-8 generally, but 17-7 in the captain spot. He did get 2 touchdowns in that game, but the yards weren't there. I think he'll have more of a bounce back. Not necessarily the numbers that we saw in the Jets game, but New Orleans is 25th in DraftKings points allowed to the wide receiver position. I think that Diggs is going to have a big game, catch a couple deep balls here.
Yeah, without Cooper and Lamb on the slate, too. Like, if you're going all 3 games, he is the one and only alpha in the wide receiving group. Final segment of the show is on the way here, guys. We're going to get to your locks for your favorite plays.
There are no locks.
On the Thanksgiving Day slate. All right?
Sure.
Hopefully, can win you some bucks, make you some money, make you look cool in front of your family. That's next.
Not possible.
Game day.
Are you ready for some of this coffee?
A minute to the kick. And it's not a kickoff without the small places that make game day big. It's not a kickoff without Dave on the door. What's up, Dave? It's not a kickoff without Manny's or Mickey's packed and shoulder to shoulder. Without Ray working the remote. Hope you made room. Because it's not a kickoff without a proper cut of something. kickoff without Scatino's famous ziti.
Scatinos.
All ready for you.
It's a minute to the kick, and it's not a kickoff until Loretta drops 3 cubes of ice until 2 fingers of Crown. So raise your glass and kick off with Crown.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Crown Royal Thanksgiving preview. We are going to wrap up this show now by getting your favorite plays on this Thursday slate. So it could be DFS or it could be a bet. Take it in whatever direction you want. Reed, you're up first.
Turkey is the best. No, it's going to be Bills.
This guy.
I mentioned it, -2.5. The Bills, the last 3 games, they've averaged 10 points in the first half. Not great, but even better than the Saints, who have averaged 4.3 points in the first half in their last 3 return
Wowee.
recipients. So give me the Saints.
That's a
first
lot.
half.
Go ahead.
I love that number that Julian dropped. Dalton Schultz getting an anytime touchdown +175. That feels like a really strong play. With
Just
all
found it on
Good
DraftKings.
fantasy play,
I found
too,
it on
this week.
DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yep, that's why you got the computer.
Wow.
You know, he's like a data guy. Like, just all this data in front of him. But
Stats.
175 anytime touchdown, that should hit on this slate in a league that nothing we think is going to hit hits.
DFS or sports betting? What direction are you going in?
I'm going to go to, it's not a specific number that's out yet, but I think it's going to be Cedric Wilson for me when we find somebody to back in the Dallas passing game. These guys have to find a way to move the ball, and they're going to move the ball. I'm confident against that Raiders secondary. Without the top 2 receivers, we should get, inflated numbers in terms of what we're used to with a guy like Cedric Wilson, but much lower numbers than you'd get with a Lamb or a Cooper. So unless we get a crazy number there on the board, I'm going to look to Cedric Wilson over in the passing yards market, or receiving yards market.
Guys, that's your show. We can turn our focus now to a warm meal on Thursday with turkey, a big old fat, juicy turkey sitting right there in the middle of the table. I can't wait. My mouth is watering as we speak. Are you excited to have some pie?
With some Crown Royal.
Hey.
Love your style,
There we
baby.
go.
And we love your style for hanging out with us. Thanks to everybody. We appreciate it. We love you. We'll see you next time.